Welcome back to the Sports Ticket on the Alive and Social Network. It is time to get ready for Wild Hockey here in downtown St. Paul. We are live and in person at Patrick McGovern's Pub on West 7th in St. Paul. Kendall Mark is making her way down here to St. Paul. She actually stopped by the studio for no apparent reason. She is blonde. We do love her, and she'll be with us shortly. But happy to have our special guest today from Apples to Apples, Mr. Scott Applebaum. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, sir. You know I always love when I get called up from the farm team. It's an honor.
You know what? I feel the same way when I get called up to your squad to work for Apples to Apples, and it's nice that we can cross-pollinate here. And different shows, but still the same. I think you and I both are rubes that love to watch sports. And
absolutely.
You know, I'm lucky enough to work around the games, and tonight I'll be heading over to the X to work the game with the Maple Leafs in town to take on your Minnesota Wild. And it's always fun to me when you get teams in town that you don't see very often, especially Original Six teams. So even though Toronto isn't on par with the team we just saw a couple nights ago when the Wild went down to Chicago and took on the Blackhawks, another Original Six team, it's Mike Babcock who is coaching Immortality, and it's an Original Six team.
I've got breaking news.
You do?
Guess who's here?
The best-looking one in the bunch. There she is, fresh from the studio. We just told your story on the air, and that happens, right? When you're busy, you got three different places you work. You just sometimes get into that robotic phase where you get behind the car, and your car takes you where you normally go. So you show up at the studio. When did you figure out we weren't there?
As soon as I pulled off to 36th and 35th to get into Uptown, I was on the phone talking about this Sunday. I'm going tailgating and going to the game.
Nice.
And so we were talking about what brats I should get. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I have to go. And I was like,
you made here pretty good time, though. Look at this.
Yeah, I did.
We just started.
I parked and back. And so somewhere between now and 4 o'clock when I have to be inside of the XL Energy Center, I'm going to have to move my car. And then I remembered that I forgot my press pass and I forgot my earpiece in my other bag. This has not been like my day so far.
More importantly, what kind of hot dogs are you going to have for the tailgating?
I want to do cheddar brats.
Good call.
So that was decided.
You can't go wrong with cheddar brats. I'm still basic brats to me trump all. And if you toast the bun properly at that tailgate party, put a regular brat in there and some stadium mustard, you're living the good life.
Stadium mustard.
What time should Kevin and I be there?
Yeah.
We'll be starting at 9 a.m.
Well, that's before my flight to Colorado, so I can swing
by.
In.
You could stop by. Yeah.
I'm going to miss the game. We're going to be in the air during most of that football game, which bums me out because, you know, normally a Vikings game in December, we're already talking about next year in draft position. But this year, they lead the division by a game. They're playing the glitzy Seattle Seahawks, who have been to the last 2 Super Bowls. I mean, it's going to be an awesome game. I mean, it looks like a terrific matchup on paper. There's fantasy players top to bottom on both rosters. And I'm going to be flying during the game. So I'm bummed. I'm going to follow it on my computer. As, you know, again, only a fantasy football guy can do. You just sit there. We all do it, too. I know if anyone plays fantasy football right now and you're listening, I know you do this on Sunday. The laptop is up. You're at ESPN.com, and you're watching every game to see which of your players is going for points, and then which players you're playing against are going to go in and break your heart, and you barely watch the doggone screen.
People at home don't even watch the Viking games. They watch Red Zone.
Oh, I love the Red Zone
Honestly,
TV. I love it.
Right. Because if they're going to score, they're going to show it anyways.
I like to see before it. I hate when you get the highlights after it happens and you're waiting. You kind of see it. You know, with the computers now, you know exactly who scored.
This happened. That's what he always says.
Exactly, and it's so fun when if you have attention deficit, which I certainly do.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
I'm sorry. What was that again? But it's great for us. So you're going to be out there tailgating at 9 o'clock.
All right. Well, think about it.
And then I'm going to go to the game.
Forecast is for decent weather
47 degrees or something.
I just bought tickets today. In the nosebleed section. I'm like row 30.
That's all right
on the visitors side, but that's where the sun is. So
it's
I'm
actually not
good thinking.
It's not the visitor. The Vikings are.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So for the Gophers, it's the visiting side. But yeah, and it was like $120 for 2 tickets, which to me is nothing. If you're gonna,
it's a good deal actually for a Seattle Seahawks game. Again, another team we don't see very often, like Toronto tonight at the X. Well, we get again the neat part about the Vikings being in contention is. Games like tonight's Thursday night football game actually matter. I mean, we have a rooting interest tonight in a Detroit-Green Bay game in December. If you're a Vikings fan, you're all about the Honolulu Blue. You're all about Detroit sweeping the Packers. They are playing tonight to sweep the season series against the Packers, which is obnoxious.
Unheard of.
And they haven't had a chance to do this in a long time because we know the last time they played was the first time they won on Wisconsin soil since 1991. So it's exciting. And the Lions, as Scott and I were talking before we hit the air this afternoon, they've won their last 3. The Packers have lost 4 of 5. All that being said, they're the Lions.
What can go wrong?
They
Right.
will find a way to lose this game, and there are all kinds of fantasy implications we'll get into later in this football game. We give you our staple on Thursday, 5 to bank on and 5 to bench. But let's talk about this Vikings game a little further. Who do we like in this game? Because to me, it's a tricky spot for Minnesota. You know you're going to Arizona on short rest right after this, and that's going to be a really tough game. You're going to probably be at least a 5 or 6 point underdog in that game in the desert. This is a sneaky big game for Minnesota, and if Green Bay does win the night like we think they're going to, this is a game you almost have to have if you're going to win the division.
I think it's huge because we've beat everyone we should beat so far. We had a chance to kind of make a name for ourselves when we played the Packers. We lost. This is another, maybe our second or last opportunity to really put a stamp on this season against a team that we can beat, but certainly is not.
It's a pick 'em. Yeah, you can beat them for
So,
sure, but it's a coin toss game in Vegas.
I think it's huge for so many reasons, even more than just the standings.
I think it's funny how many comparisons float out there between the Vikings and Seattle.
Right.
You know, so many teams like this is so many of the big announcers and all the big networks are like this team just so much so reminds me of Seattle when they had Marshawn Lynch. Obviously that was big, but I think for us, we obviously don't have a deep ball threat. They don't usually. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson is like, oh yeah, I can do that too. Funny. But I think the defense, as always, is going to have to win this game this time. Do we know is Harrison Smith, is he in?
We think he's in.
Back,
yeah, it sounds like he's playing, which is huge.
Yeah.
Huge when you're taking on a big running back like Rawls. And they don't have Lynch, but I'd argue that they've been better off with Rawls. I mean, if you look at the offensive production here in the last couple of weeks since Lynch was declared out, they're scoring a bunch of points. And we'll get into Russell Wilson's numbers here in a little bit. But the Vikings defense, guys, against quarterbacks this year has been really good. I mean, when they're healthy, and with Harrison in there, they're as healthy as you need to be. Their pass defense has been good, and Seattle is a little more balanced than we're used to seeing it. You know, it used to be Seattle just run the ball down your throat, but they, to Kendall's point, are starting to throw the ball a little bit more.
But they just lost Jimmy Graham.
That's huge.
Much to my fantasy chagrin.
Bad for fantasy, but good for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Because if you think about red zone offense and what Seattle's going to want to do when they're inside the 20, I mean, Jimmy Graham is normally going to take two players right out of the mix.
And he's been playing a lot better.
And now you can really focus in on Rawls
Right.
and Russell Wilson's running aspect, which is going to be dangerous this week. This is another one of those matchups where you cannot get locked into one running back or one or two receivers because Russell Wilson's elite at knowing when to take off with the ball. And this game, to me, is going to come down to taking care of the football. I think if the Vikings win the turnover battle, they win this game. I think on their home field, with their defense finally healthy again, with the confidence they gained last week against Atlanta, I mean, the only thing that just makes me a little bit nervous is Tevin Coleman is not exactly a household name, and he ran up and down that field pretty well last week.
Different, he was number 2 in fantasy, wasn't he?
He was great, 120 yards, and so Rawls has been getting his.
And one big fumble, though.
That was huge.
One big
huge. I think we win the game, we win the division. That's my call.
I'm with you that it's that big a game, Kendall. I mean, this
so.
is the type of game where you can win this game, and that takes the pressure off that Arizona game in a heartbeat.
Right.
So you win this game, and you have the inside track, and that is assuming Green Bay wins tonight. Can you imagine if Detroit wins that football game, how much more juice will be flowing around with those Vikings into that game Sunday, knowing you could really put a big gap between yourself and your arch rival? What's your prediction on Sunday, Kendall?
Well, I'm going to be there, so we better win. Because,
are you good luck when you go?
I feel like I'm loud enough that I should be good luck. And
you're tailgating early enough where you will be loud.
3 hours of tailgating under your belt.
Well, we see one of my girlfriends, Maddie, actually works for the team.
Oh, nice.
And so she has this parking spot, and she's like, hey, do you guys want to call? Like, I'll come. I'm going to make an egg bake in the morning that you guys can eat.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, make me an egg bake. I'll have a Bloody Mary, and then I'll pull on the brats before we go into the game.
When you know you're tailgating Sunday, what is your Saturday night like? I mean, do you
I'm
prepare?
going to an ugly Christmas sweater party on Saturday night.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's with some of my friends who are a little more chill.
It was a long time ago when we were your age, so I'm just curious. Do you
we live through your fun.
You just keep going through it, right, Aaron?
You do?
Aaron's nodding too.
All right, cool.
I'm
20-something-year-olds hanging out over here.
A midnight movie Saturday. I work down here at the rink. Wilder hosting Colorado, first of a home and home. We go to Denver on Sunday for a Monday game. But one of my favorite holiday movies, and it's one I think you guys have seen. It's a recent movie. Love Actually is playing
Love that movie.
at the Uptown Theater.
Okay.
Midnight, Friday and Saturday. And I figured, well, Saturday I'm going to be working till 10:30 or 11. It's on my way home back to Minnetonka from St. Paul, and I am a huge Hugh Grant movie fan. I love all his movies.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it makes me metrosexual, what it does, what it says
I don't know
about
what
me.
it makes you either.
But I'll tell you right now, that movie is good, solid holiday fun. I'm thinking I'm going to swing by the Uptown on the way home. The only thing that makes me a little tense is the movie's almost 2.5 hours, and it doesn't start till midnight.
Right.
And
or like midnight 30.
and I'm a little older than I used to be, and I don't always stay alert late at night. I'm not worried about the movie. I'll stay awake because I'll have the popcorn and the Diet Coke. It's the drive home at 2:35 a.m. that makes me just a little bit nervous, but I think I'm going to do it. And while we're on the subject, that's a recent holiday movie.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live through December without having your favorite holiday movie, and it might even be a couple of the half-an-hour shows we've seen recently, the Frosty bit.
Yeah.
What's the
Simple.
one that makes you most feel like the holiday spirit?
Home Alone.
You love Home Alone. Why?
That was quick, too.
I know. I don't know because it strikes me. It's just and it's probably. I just think it's funny. It's just every little thing to me seemed funny.
How about you, Kendall? What's your all-time favorite?
I can't really explain it, but
I
better
can't
than that.
pick one. I have to pick a
You
few.
have to pick one.
I can't pick one. Don't
But
put me
there's
on
gotta
that
be
spot
one
like
at the
that.
top of the list that when you see it, you're most in the holiday spirit. It's the one that signals Christmas.
Well,
Well,
whatever
I
for
have
you.
one other one.
Elf
Okay.
is really funny. I love Elf.
Good pick.
And
Yeah.
I love Home Alone series. That's
You
great.
guys are still missing the elephant in the room.
Wait, no, did you stop?
I
Just
think I
wait.
know it.
I hope you do.
Okay, wait.
You
just-
should.
Everybody, calm down. I'm speaking.
Is Kendall talking?
RELAX.
Okay.
Relax.
Relax. Okay, so those two. The Santa Claus makes me so happy.
Oh, brother.
The Grinch is my second favorite, but
Grinch
my
is good.
all-time favorite.
Here it is.
Here it is. It's a classic. I'm going to see if you can guess it. It's in black and white.
It's a Wonderful
very-
Life.
It's a wonderful.
Nope.
That's
Nope.
come on.
Nope. I love that movie too, but it's in black and white. It's
What-
got a
is
very
that 'cause your
famous
TV is
singer and
black
a
and
very
white?
famous song in it, but the song did not come out of this
White
movie.
Christmas? Nice. Bing Crosby.
But yeah, but the
Bing
song is not
Crosby.
from the movie.
I just said it didn't come out of this movie.
I know. I was confirming what you said.
But I know you were thinking It's a Wonderful Life earlier.
Well, there's one other one
there is?
that I think we're all missing. Chevy Chase, Christmas Vacation.
Oh, Christmas Vacation.
Not on
no, A Christmas Story.
Well,
with
that's
the
a good
Oh,
one.
leg lamp.
yes,
Yeah,
the
that's
leg
a
Oh
lamp.
my gosh. Now
But-
I got to go home and TiVo all this stuff.
They're all good, but to me, number one with a bullet is Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life. That movie gets me every.
What point do you cry?
The very
point?
end. The very end. It's good for me. I don't. It's just there aren't many movies that choke me up. Brian's song, the old football
Oh.
movie, gets me. This one gets me every single year. I get sucked in. It's on cable, and it's December 19th,
Right.
and there I am at 1 o'clock, and I cannot 1 a.m. I can't turn it off. That's the one for me.
Before we leave this subject, so I'm Jewish, actually.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. And my wife's
Happy
Lutheran.
Hanukkah.
But guess what I do?
My wife is Lutheran.
You listen to Adam Sandler.
Well, that's a great song.
Love
But
it.
you know what we do? Christmas Eve, and I bet you, I don't know if you guys will admit this. You watch the Yule log, right?
Oh, absolutely. We watched the Yule log.
Now, think about that. Because I've done it every year, and my wife's like, wait, what time does it start? What time does it start? Now you can TiVo it, but they have the live one, I believe, on Channel 45.
Channel 45. It's live for like 24 hours.
Can you
What?
believe we do that? You've never heard of this?
Oh, come on, Kendall. What are you living under a rock?
The
Maybe.
Yule log?
You turn on to Channel
I know what a
45
Yule log
Christmas
is,
Eve night.
but-
No, it's a beautiful.
It's fascinating.
It's a beautiful, the most beautiful fireplace picture you've ever seen.
Are you kidding
Christmas
me?
music playing
No.
on your flat screen TV. It actually makes you feel warm inside.
And then if you're lucky, you'll be there when they actually
they
prod.
move it,
when
they prod
them-
it.
Yeah.
You don't even see the hand. The prodder comes in.
Yeah, it's
and it moves
phenomenal.
it for you. It's the lazy
24
man's
hours.
perfect Christmas gift because you just sit there and it makes you
What's
feel
it-
warm and
Hey,
cozy.
what's Aaron's
and-
problem?
He gets it. He knows. He's giggling right now, but I know when he's got that girlfriend over, he gets the bearskin rug out. He puts Channel 45 on. Come on, man.
Gets the
You've
bear.
never.
Oh, yeah.
How could you have never heard of this?
I know what this does not sound familiar.
Baby
to me.
oil, bearskin rug, and the Yule log. That's the trifecta
Hang on,
that
I got-
cannot
I just
miss.
got
And
a
he's
really
laughing
bad
because he
visual.
knows.
Oh, was that Aaron or you?
No, I'm beyond those days now. I'm retired.
Oh,
I mean,
Is all
come on.
this Christmas talk because you're so inspired by the beautiful decor
I
here
know.
at McGovern's?
McGovern's looks nice. Yeah, this is a very
It does.
festive look. We were here over the weekend. A good friend of mine's father was turning 70, so relatives came in from all parts. Pittsburgh, Menominee, the whole bit. They all came in, 20 of them.
Menominee.
Right to the
All
Wild
parts
game.
in between.
So Friday afternoon Wild
Nice.
game. They only needed 17 tickets together, but we somehow facilitated that.
Wow.
Horrible game. Came back here after for the post-game party, special room upstairs, birthday cake. It was spectacular.
Throwing a party.
And the highlight of the night, I went to high school with a local musician by the name of Billy Johnson. Guy used to play with the Hillcats. Spectacular acoustic musician. This guy's super talented. Track him down. If you ever get to one of those cozy little bars where he's playing acoustically, it is awesome. Billy Johnson, really good local musician. He's playing across the street, and my sister's at the little concert thing. Her and Billy are good buddies from when they went to high school together. She tells him about the birthday party and drags him over in between one of his sets. He comes walking in with a guitar and starts playing Happy Birthday for this guy. And then the highlight for me is he starts playing the Burnsville fight song. And so I hop up.
Oh, my God.
My sister and her friends, we're all clapping. We're singing the Burnsville fight song. We're clapping. The bar's like, what the hell is going on?
How does
I'm
that
not doing it right now.
How does it go?
There's no encore performance.
Do they have their own, or do they rip it off from
No, it's
college?
our own. It's special. It's our own. And it was terrific fun. But right here at McGovern's, the birthday party on Saturday was spectacular. I want to thank them publicly for being such great hosts and allowing Billy to sneak in and play a couple songs.
That's cool.
It was really neat.
I just want you to know, since we're talking about the Burnsville fight song, he's just embarrassed because he doesn't want to sing it since I just nailed the Vikings fight song.
I wouldn't say
on Monday.
nailed would be the word I'd use, but you attempted it. Don't do it again. Please, God.
Can you make
I
the
got
horn
all the
noise?
words right. I don't know if the notes were right.
How about the
but
horn noise?
You're going to hear a lot of that.
Much better than anything I would have just done.
That was sweet.
Mine was like growl.
Yours is like a bad car horn that's gone.
She was about to do it, too.
I couldn't.
Can you do it without your hands over your nose?
No, you got to have the hands. Got to have the hands.
Hands
We're getting
are
off the rails here.
imperative.
Holy cow.
Hey,
I could do that.
before I got to skip out in a couple minutes, I need.
You just got here.
Yeah, what's that? We mean skip out.
Well,
We're
I gotta go.
kidding.
I
We
gotta
know
go.
you
I
have to
gotta
work. We know.
I'm already flustered. I already
Shaniqua.
forgot all my stuff.
Drove to the studio today. You can't make it up.
I can't. And I slept through my alarm this morning. I can't make that up
So the
either.
day
So I was late
started
to work
then.
too.
Who sleeps through their alarm? How old are you?
Bing bing. That's who.
Is that your alarm? Is that what it sounds like?
like Kramer in Seinfeld, he sets his mental alarm. It doesn't always work, does it?
Yeah, my mental alarm is
6
kind of off
o'clock a.m.
sometimes.
Okay, bing, bing.
6 o'clock a.m. this morning, which was when I was supposed to wake up, ended up being 7:53.
Close enough.
Yeah, that's really close.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what? It was Pacific time. You were 7
Right.
minutes early.
7 minutes early. So I got to ask you before we go, and I know that you'll talk more about fantasy later.
Absolutely.
But, okay, so this is who I picked up. I picked up the Texans defense.
Good pickup.
Am I putting them in
How
over
are
the
they out
Chiefs?
there?
Because Kansas City sucked last week for
They were
me.
bad last week. They did.
So
They got
do you think I should keep the Texans in over the Chiefs?
the way J.J. Watt is playing right
Yes.
now. You have to. I have no idea why they were out there. You have to play the Texans D in two factors.
Okay.
Buffalo, this time of year, usually we can project some kind of weather, right? Some kind of
Right.
precipitation, some kind of wind outdoors. Texans are going to be playing some solid D, and Buffalo's become, with Tyrod Taylor, more of a throw-first team. So they're going to have opportunities for sacks. There's going to be turnovers. Long story longer, yes, play the Texans D.
And they're in
Okay.
first place.
Yeah.
It's a big-
Okay. One more question.
Oh, okay.
So this isn't even a question. I'm just really
Wait,
excited.
time out.
Guess
Time out.
which
Time
tight
out.
end?
Time out.
What happened to your screen?
It died a while ago. This is
Yeah,
old.
this is old
this
news.
Is old
but
news.
Go
for
ahead.
apples to apples, it hasn't really come up on
Yeah,
this show.
right?
No.
So,
Guess who I picked up?
what position?
Tight end.
Chandler, New England.
I did.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I'm 4-8, but this could be
Ooh.
number 5.
They, I heard on the way over here, there 12 targets for Chandler. I'm not being funny. 12 targets for
10
Chandler.
to 12 targets,
Yeah.
80 to 120 yards, and at least a touchdown. That's what you're going to – you might get
Perfect.
two. I mean, Philadelphia
Congratulations.
is so bad,
Oh.
and they're running out of weapons, and Brady's going to get his. And the beauty of having a Patriots pass catcher is it doesn't matter what the score is. They
Right.
could be up 31-0 in the fourth, and they're
just
going
gonna
to be
keep going.
throwing the ball because Belichick is a jackwagon, and he'll just keep running it up.
Yep.
You got a guy right now that outside of – maybe Amendola coming back, they're going to be throwing him the ball all day long.
have to.
Great pickup.
Boom.
And see, that was one of our Monday
It
waiver
was. I
wire
actually-
So
gems.
what was your
Listen.
question?
I was
Should
just,
you
I said
start him?
question
Yes.
and then
You were
I was-
just bragging.
I was like, I have a question, and I was like,
Puffing
well,
that
maybe
chest
not.
out
I
saying,
just
"Look
want you
at
to know
me."
this is what
Yeah,
I
you were
did.
just bragging how
Look
good.
at me now.
Look at me now, kids.
So what are you doing tonight for the Wild?
I'm doing my normal, my wild vision.
I know, but do you have any
Anything
hints?
special?
There's going to be a new game.
Oh.
Anderson Windows has this
Dating
new
game?
this guess what's behind the window thing, and there's one really bad one that's really funny, and then 2 good prizes.
Well, I mean,
So-
do you have an option? Just guess, like someone's grandma. I mean, what would be? What's
so
the
maybe
premise?
a bad one would be like a used sock from someone's skate.
Is that like the prize? Or
and
something?
and
That's
the
the
good
booby
if
prize.
you pick the right window, you could get like a $100 gift card to Hockey Lodge. I mean, those are not the 2 prizes, but there's 3 prizes that are like that.
Nice.
And yeah, if you It's going to be fun.
With that being said, great segue, and I know you have to get over to work. And
Yes.
right behind you is Mr. O'Malley. You need to talk to him before you go. You're in trouble. You got a tardy today. 2 more, and
Staring
your
at
grade
me.
goes down in increments. So be careful. It's the holiday season. But if you were in the hockey lodge right now, Mr. Scott,
Yep.
and you could buy one Wild sweater,
Oh.
and we're talking, and they also have North Star sweaters. They have Gopher sweaters. They have every version that the Wild have ever had: the old school green, the new school white, and now the new outdoor winter
That's-
classic special. Which one would you pick?
That's the one, the new one, and I would, if I were them, I'd wear it all year long.
It's
It's
spectacular.
actually a really cool sweatshirt.
I know.
It is. Okay, I got to go. Bye, guys.
Have fun. We'll see you at the rink.
See you on Monday. I'll tell you all about the game and tailgating.
Well, just get us a win. That's what
Okay.
we want
Yeah.
you to talk
I'll-
about more than
you'll hear
anything.
me.
on
I'm sure we'll hear.
You'll
I was
hear
going
me
to
in
say,
the
I'm sure we'll
speakers.
hear
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You'll hear me. Okay.
Make that horn noise.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
You too, Miss Kendall.
See you, Shaniqua.
So the new one, right?
I would wear it all year long.
The
Why
outdoor-
is it that most of these, like when they have the special jerseys, they're always nicer than the normal ones, but they never wear them again?
You want to know why? Think of the sound the cash register
No,
makes.
I know.
Ka-ching. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. They're going to make money, right? They're going to
I
make a
know.
lot of money
Oh, they are.
selling these sweaters. And I think the one difference for the Wild sweater that I noticed is the numbers are bigger on the side, right? And that's really specifically to help out the men that are
Right.
calling the game from a far, far away spot. Not that you're used to doing that in hockey.
Right.
And then for the fans to be able to see, which guy's in check in the corner. Because when they go in the corner a lot of times, you can't see the back of the sweater. You can see the sleeves.
Right.
Brilliant move. I have not seen this done before, but those numbers are 2 or 3 times larger
So
than
who
the normal
decides
size.
that? Is that the Wild or is that the
I
NHL?
think between the two of them. I think the NHL gives them some guidelines. They run a couple of prototypes by the NHL, and the NHL will sign off on a particular style. But I thought the sweaters look great. The Blackhawks sweater is always going to be better because their logo.
Yeah.
They have arguably the best logo, not only in hockey, but in all sport. That thing is spectacular. And then you get the war things on the shoulders. I mean, that thing is so freaking cool. You can't top that.
So on our show this, we do a poll question. Our poll question this week, which is coming out tomorrow, is best uniform in sports. Blackhawks, is that it? for you?
Blackhawks.
And all the sports, not hockey necessarily.
I would say Blackhawks
Because
would
of
be
the
number one
logo.
for me. I mean, it's a tough call because
Yeah.
you're thinking outside of hockey too. But football uniforms are boring.
They're all generic.
Basketball uniforms don't have sleeves.
Right.
And if
Well, they
you've
sorted-
seen my arms, you know why I don't wear those. Baseball, the Houston Astros from the 80s
Oh, yeah.
would be top 5 for me. And I know I'm going to get laughed at for this statement, but the J.R. Richard version with the orange, the
Okay,
yellow,
so-
that thing was awesome.
The Louisville Cardinal baseball team last year wore those with red and black instead.
I think that's
They
cool.
They were so nice.
Yeah, that was a really unique look, and that's what it's all about for me. But if you're going to talk about best uniforms or sweaters in sport, hockey for me would probably have 4 of the top 5. You put the Astros in there,
Right.
and then I move on to 4 hockey sweaters, and the Blackhawks would be one of them. The New York Rangers, are you kidding me?
Yep.
How cool are the blue shirts? I mean, those are spectacular. And it's funny with the hockey stuff because all the technology and these new teams have come out and this and that and all the you go back to the original 6.
Yeah.
You look at the Red
Maple
Wings,
Leafs.
Maple Leafs, Blackhawks, Rangers. I mean, you go back to where it all began, and they're still better than anything the new sweaters
Right.
I have to offer. And
I agree.
No disrespect to this team, but how about the North Star sweater?
Oh, yeah.
How good was that N with the star above it? I mean, and that's, to me, the outdoor weekend we're going to have in February for the Wild. Yeah, it's cool. The Hawks are in town, Cup champions, the rivalry, that whole bit. But the North Star Blackhawk reunion game, I mean, come on. That's going to be great fun. Murray Bannerman, one of the goalies, John Casey.
We got Madonna back.
Mikey Madano's back. You got Lou Nanny behind the bench. I mean, it's really going to be cool for fans that are over the age of 30 to look back and say, yeah, this was the game back in the day when the North Stars played the Blackhawks. And I love that because it's a Wild event, they're mixing in the Wes Walls, the Darby Hendricksons,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit of everything. And it's going to be really, really fun.
Do you think that Secord and McRae will drop the gloves?
Secord's not coming.
Oh, he's not?
He's
No?
a pilot, and he's decided to work. So the Secord sucks chance will still happen.
Yeah, well, you
I
have
guarantee
to.
you they're going to still
Okay.
happen.
Well, he'll fight somebody else.
They'll-
Basil McRae.
Basil McRae and Shane Churla, the
Shane
Bruce
Churla.
brothers of
Oh.
the unbelievable 91 Stanley Cup run. And that was,
That
for
was
me,
crazy.
as good as it gets.
Those
Because
crowds.
they were horrible all regular season. They got hot the last week and a half of the season. They backed their way in as the 16 seed, took out the number 1 team in the league in the Blackhawks, took out the number 2 team in St. Louis. Then they took on the Cup defenders in Edmonton, and then finally, after having a 2-1 lead, lost to the Penguins in 6 games. I'll never forget. I was at every one of those home games.
They started the season with about 40 fans.
Remember, they were running around giving away money.
They were passing out money.
It was depressing.
And my family had season tickets.
I remember that was like it was yesterday. They couldn't get anyone to sit down and enjoy the game in the state of hockey, which shocks everybody.
Right.
When I tell the story to younger people, they're like, "No, that's not true."
Oh yeah,
XL's stole it every night.
Passing
Trust
money.
me, they had idiots in hockey masks running around that rink. And if they stopped at your seat, you got like $500 cash. I'm not kidding. And there were 6,000 people there if they were lucky.
Oh, if they were lucky. And by the end, there were 6,000 people in the parking lot.
Tailgating.
4 hours before the game.
Well, everybody got, that's the beauty of Minnesota sports fans. When a team gets hot, everybody will get onto the bandwagon. Yeah. And that year, everybody was on the North Star bandwagon. It was a spectacular run to the Cup Finals. And what I'll never forget is, we had never seen the Stanley Cup in person. They didn't travel around and show it off back in the day. And even though it was breaking my heart in Game 6, and it was 8-0 Penguins at the midway point of the second period, my buddies and I sat in our seats because we wanted to see the Stanley Cup on the ice. And it hurt to do it because our favorite team just had no chance that night. The Penguins were on fire. Badger Bob Johnson behind the bench, Lemieux, Coffey. I mean, they had a really, really – Yager was out there. They had a really, really good team. But we stuck around to see the Stanley Cup, as depressing as it was.
Is that the top sports trophy? Now, I know you're a hockey guy, but
it has to be. Right?
I think it is.
I mean, you party with it, you drink out of it. Kids or parents have put their babies in it.
There's more mystique
there's been
behind
baptisms in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about any other trophy you want. The World Series trophy is pretty cool with all those little flags and pennants and stuff. That's neat. But it's the Stanley Cup.
I agree.
Every player gets to take it home and bring it back to their hometown. There is nothing like it in any other sport. And even though hockey is still lower on the totem pole than football and baseball and basketball, the trophy stands out above all.
So this is way off subject, but the Hockey Hall of Fame, no offense, but the real Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. When you go in that bank vault and you see all those trophies.
How neat is that?
Pretty cool.
Hockey's got some trophies, no doubt about it. We're going to get a little more into the Wild and the Maple Leafs here a little later in the show. But let's just talk a little fantasy football briefly. And before we do that, let's talk about the apples to apples, because you guys continue every single week to put up the numbers. And you look at me like, shucks, man, I don't know how this happens. But let's talk about the Orchard. This is a pretty steady bunch of followers that we have every single week.
Steady and nutty.
So for the folks that are season ticket holders here that maybe haven't come to the Orchard, when is your show? Well, they will. They'll be there. I promise. We're going to send them there.
How do
they find you?
Well, they find us on the Live and Social Network. But we always say the minor leagues. So someone asked me the other day about it. We're like the Saints. We sell out every game, but no one knows who we are. You're
making the money then too. You're making the money if you sell out.
But no one knows
every
who we
single
are.
Game. That's okay.
So you know what? Our show is it's sports based, and it's the father son. Drew and I. We had a little battle on Monday. I don't even remember what it was about, and I'm just trying to straighten them out. So it's Drew and I kind of bantering and fighting. We talk local sports, but probably the biggest part of it is turned into the last 20 minutes or so. And Kendall actually stopped in for the last 20 minutes. And you've been there. Orchard questions. Some of them are legitimate, and we it's all on Twitter or Facebook, and so some use their real names. And if you ask a question, we got T-shirts. We give them out. Some use aliases just to be funny. And it's a combination, and we know some of them ahead of time, and it's kind of morphed into that whole thing. It's almost like a spoof of our own show, but it's informative and has some comedy at times.
And once a week, what time can they find you?
It is live 2:30 to 3:30 on Mondays, but obviously then throughout the week, and then leading into your show.
And the exciting news for folks out there that are still trying to figure out Christmas gifts this year.
We have two big things coming up.
How about this?
We have, and we kind of set it on a whim, but we do have the first annual Apples to Apples calendar, which we're working on. The production team's working on. We had a big announcement last week of the members that made it. I'm not going to bore you with everyone, but I'm going to give you a couple.
And this is just in time for 2016. And who doesn't need a new calendar?
So Mr. February was Jerry Kill.
I think that's a really good choice.
February.
When I think Valentine's,
the month
I can
of
just
love.
see.
He needs love.
Jerry Kill's the guy I think of.
June, I'm skipping some because a lot of them are some Orchard members that have really participated. June, we had 2 people close to your heart, Grant and your buddy Aaron made June.
Well, Aaron's a handsome devil. I mean, that makes a ton of sense.
It gets even better. July, Mr. O'Malley, because that was sort of the month he developed. He's the brains behind the Apples to Apples show.
Well, and clearly, when it gets hot in the summer, that's what I want to look at.
Exactly. And I have looked at it, and it's special. And then the last 2 that I really want to mention, October, Terry Ryan. The committee really wanted him to finally have a good feeling in October for a while.
Wow, that's a serious shot. We got Nishioka light now, though. Don't forget.
Everything will be fine.
Okay.
Well, by the way, and then I can't. Then we'll get back to what I was about to say. And then more popular than Santa Claus, Mr. December, the one and only Kevin Gorg.
Well, I'm a giver, and the giving season is December, and I will.
Personally,
I'm some kind of a feeling. I'm not sure what it's
I'm gonna keep mine only on December and just wait for it to get there so I can just stare at your picture.
Oh my goodness!
So yeah, we got that, and then we have our live tour coming up.
Really?
The Apples to Apples live tours.
You're going to tour around the country.
Well, we're going to start in Egan.
Okay, that's a good start. The airport's close by,
and
right?
then West St. Paul, I believe. So Egan, the Trail Stop Tavern, brand new. Well, it's brand new owners, brand new name. That'll be December 21st. That's the first stop on the live tour.
A holiday edition.
Holiday special edition, and then I think June 12th will be at the Boulevard, which I think technically is West St. Paul. Right before
Love the Boulevard.
So that's our second tour, our second date on our live tour, and then we have more dates to come.
And I would imagine you've set the tour up like a lot of rock stars do, where you finish the tour with your son at his college.
Well, that is, and my son will actually be making his live return to the app at our first tour stop. He'll be at the second.
Home for the holidays.
And we will make our way back over to Georgetown.
That's spectacular.
Right?
Oh, Scott's, our boss is in the background nodding. I mean, there's no expense.
Yeah, so that's
not
what's
worth
going
taking.
On. We've talked way too much. We don't even talk about my show this much on our show. We talk about you.
But still, it's worth it, and we got to get the season ticket holders to become members of the
and
Orchard.
The season ticket holders sort of kind of came out of the Apples to Apples show.
Absolutely.
Drew had that idea.
It morphed. It came right out. It was a brilliant idea, and we thank you for that. And Mondays at 2:30, and, of course, I'll stop in dozens of times late in the show. We'll get that cooking for absolute sure. We're going to talk a bunch of we're going to talk a little bit about the College Bowl season and maybe our local Gopher team with that stellar 5-7 record backing their way into a bowl. We got to finish up the football talk by giving our season ticket holders what they come to the show for each and every Thursday. 5 to bench, 5 to bank on, and get your lineups ready tonight. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, Green Bay and Detroit kicks off the Week 13 festivities. Let's talk about the bad news first. I like to get the bad news out of the way. I'm a positive guy.
I agree.
If you're playing daily fantasy, Todd Gurley is a player that's going to be really expensive on the end of running back, and I don't like the way this guy's going, and he's on one of my teams, and it's a discouraging trend. We're in Week 13 here, Scott, and he has not hit the 100-yard mark since Week 8. More bad news. They take on Arizona, the number 4 defense in fantasy against running backs. Todd Gurley, if you play a seasonal fantasy football, you got to punch him in. I get it. Daily fantasy, avoid them like the plague this week against Arizona. They're really good.
No quarterback either.
No quarterback right now, so everybody's just keen in on the run. 8 in the box, terrific point. Todd Gurley, avoid him. Calvin Johnson was really, really good on Thanksgiving, and because of it, his price has gone up in daily fantasy. And I'm a big fan of Calvin Johnson, but I don't see the Lions putting up a lot of points tonight. I picked Green Bay to win this game comfortably. He's 8,500 right now on FanDuel. No thanks. Calvin Johnson, again, if he's on your regular roster, you have to play Calvin Johnson in daily. If you can get Allen Robinson cheaper, which I know you can, if you can get Jarvis Landry cheaper, which I know you can, significantly cheaper, go a different direction. The next couple are just avoid them in general. And this hits home for me because I'm on both these running backs, and I can't play either one. I hate when coaches do this. The Bears are going to play both running backs.
Yeah, I know.
Well, hey, Coach Fox, good for you. We're really happy you've got depth at running back. It kills their fantasy value because nobody knows if it's Matt Forte or Jeremy Langford that's going to score a touchdown. Langford has scored in 4 straight weeks. They're both on my roster, and they're both on my bench.
Well, the other problem is they get the ball down to the 1, and you're not going to know which one they're going to.
And they rotate them in.
It
may be Forte all the way down the field. He may be tired. Now Langford's going to come in.
That's the part
and gravy tane the touchdown. I'm not going to play both guys. So, if you have a Bears running back, daily or season long, avoid them. Gary Barnidge has been a tight end that scored a bunch of points in fantasy. Not a good matchup this week. Backup quarterback, actually backup to the backup now, in for Cleveland. And Cincinnati, the number one defense in fantasy football against tight ends. They have garnered only one touchdown against by a tight end the first 12 weeks, so avoid Gary Barnidge. Vikings fans, pay attention. My fifth player to bench from the University of Wisconsin, quarterback Russell Wilson.
Nice.
We're happy for your 8 touchdowns the last 2 weeks against San Francisco and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The 28th and 31st ranked defenses against the pass. Minnesota,
number 2
against the pass. Not one quarterback this year has passed for more than 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. So even though Russell Wilson has 8 touchdowns in his last 2 weeks, you're benching the Seahawks quarterback.
And how does a guy as mobile as him get sacked so much?
Have you seen his offensive line?
Yeah, I know.
They're terrible.
Well,
they are terrible.
So it's time.
That's an area where I think the Vikings can expose Seattle. With the crowd noise, it's going to be jumping. A chance for redemption, as you mentioned, after the Green Bay debacle a couple weeks ago. Confidence after really, I think, doing a great job against Julio Jones and that Atlanta offense.
Yeah.
They shackled him terrifically. Get some pressure on Russell Wilson. They'll own the line of scrimmage. And I think with the crowd noise, they'll have a chance to take care of the Seahawks this weekend. Now, come your 5 to bank on. And these are must-starts. And if you're on daily fantasy, must-use. Number 1 with a bullet. This guy's going to outscore every other player to his position, and it won't be close. Quarterback Cam Newton. Superman sails through New Orleans. We've talked about this defense.
Do that dance again.
He did the thing with
and then
the thing,
dance.
And then the thing
Nice.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I've been watching. He knows what he's doing.
Sweet.
I don't have quite the rhythm Cam Newton has, but I have my own calendar spot. So
yeah,
I have that going for me.
He didn't make the apples-to-apples calendar.
New Orleans, the worst fantasy pass defense in football. Cam Newton can beat you in the air. He can run. He can do it all. Start Cam Newton. Next is Brandon Marshall, New York Jets, wide receiver. New York Giants, third worst defense in fantasy as far as pass defense goes. Brandon Marshall comes off a 2-touchdown effort. I think the Jets and Brandon Marshall
get theirs. So the Jets
theirs.
home or the Giants home?
Good question. Now, the Jets will be wearing their road uniforms. They share the stadium.
But the Giants get the tickets.
Giants get the ticket sales. I think the Jets get the money and get the win. Travis Kelce is your tight end du jour this week. It's more than just a start against Oakland, which we've hammered on here on the sports ticket week in and week out. Start tight ends against Oakland. But Kelce is elite. And with some of the injuries at this position, no Gronk. You mentioned that Jimmy Graham's out.
Right.
The pickings are slim. To steal something from apples to apples. The pickings are slim.
Nice.
Find Travis Kelce. You'll be rewarded with over 100 yards and a touchdown. Now come 2 sneaky starts, and everybody needs sneaky starts late in the year.
All right,
2 running backs that are not on your radar that should be on that radar. David Johnson, Arizona running back. Arizona, the second most red zone rush attempts in the National Football League, and he's the last man standing.
Yeah,
First 2 guys are out.
That's all they got.
Ellington's out. Chris Johnson is out. David Johnson will get his this week for Arizona against a beat-down St. Louis team. And finally, not a household name, Sean Drone. You'll have to Google him. He plays for San Francisco.
I don't have to. I have him.
You have Drone?
Because I have Carlos Hyde, who's been a disaster.
Get ready for 100 yards and a touchdown. The Bears' rush defense, 29th in the NFL.
And they use him more than they used Hyde when he was playing.
They use him a ton. He's got young legs. He's fresh.
I got him.
He will score against the Bears this weekend.
Thank
Those
you.
are your 5 to bench.
Thank you very much.
5 to bank.
I feel so much better.
I bet you do. You've got a good roster.
No, I don't.
Well, you've got a good waiver wire.
Well, here's the problem.
Roster.
I was 8-1, and here's who I've lost this year. I've lost Keenan Allen. So I started with Keenan Allen, Vincent Jackson, and A.J. Green.
Which was stellar.
My running backs were Le'Veon Bell, and Carlos Hyde.
They both went down?
At one point, my entire line, except for A.J. Green, they were all out. So then I picked up Hearns,
He's been great,
but then
now he's got a concussion.
He got hurt. I picked up Jimmy Graham. So I'm 8-4. I can barely score.
But you're going to be in the playoffs.
I made the playoffs, yeah. I'm still in first. But, so I do have a few issues. I did have a stellar team, but I'm banking on Sean, whatever.
Drone, he'll get his against Chicago. Because,
he's what I need.
Again, Gabbert's not going to be able to throw the ball. Bad weather in Chicago, outdoors, windy. They're going to want to run the ball.
Yep.
They're going to want to control the clock. And I hate to say it, keep Cutler off the field because Cutler's been getting rolling here lately.
They're in the playoff hunt.
It's amazing. The Bears and the Lions right now are relevant, which, again, goes back to the excitement I have for tonight's game. I think Green Bay wins, but I'd love to be wrong and see the Packers fall further into that slump. And I think what we talk about, 4 out of 5 they've lost, so it's possible. It's not probable, but it's possible they lose the game tonight.
Detroit beat them in Green Bay. Now, we talked earlier, everything lines up for Detroit winning, which means they're not going to win.
They're not going to win. When the Lions finally suck you in,
right,
that's when they break your heart. When you think they're going to be brutal, they surprise you. They were great on Thanksgiving. If they're going to have a letdown here, I think Green Bay wins by double digits. But like I said, I hope I'm wrong. Speaking of wrong,
yes,
I got to ask you now. We've been talking Gopher football, whether it's apples to apples or on this show all season long, and there's been some hardship with the coaching situation. But a 5-7 team, and what I'm hearing right now, they are likely to get a December 26 bowl bid. It's come to this, Scott.
Yeah.
How is this possible?
And remember how loyal these coaches were, too, just on a side note.
Whoops.
Oh, wait.
Well,
I guess he really wasn't that loyal.
I guess we don't have a quarterback's coach. I guess we lost our offensive coordinator.
What happened? But he's loyal.
Well, the staff
anyways.
is... Well,
These guys were loyal. They never left Jerry, but they weren't... But anyways, we sort of talked about this. I think if he really wants to make a statement, he says, no, this is not good enough. This isn't what I want. We're not going... We're going to do better. I think he'll get a lot more fans behind him. Now, however, the university is going to say, nope, you're going to go. You're going to take the money. These kids are seniors. They want to go.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen. And good luck against who would they? I don't even know what kind of team they'd play.
It doesn't matter who they play because it's going to be somebody
Central
just
Michigan
like them, probably somebody bad.
Yeah.
But the question I have, and there are two chances right now that I'm hearing, and I'm hearing either Detroit or New York, December 26th. Now, think about everybody and their holiday goings on. So you got people coming in out of town, you're traveling here and there, you're getting gifts, you're spending money, and now it's the day after Christmas. You're going to hop on a plane and fly to Detroit to watch this football team play at 5-7? No chance. Now
you wouldn't even go to
Concordia
or to TCF
St.
Bank
Paul
Stadium to watch them play the day after Christmas.
The one thing I'll say is if they do get the Pinstripe Bowl in New York, if you can spend it, and again, if you've got the money to spend, you're gonna want to go to New York the day after Christmas. It's a fun time to be out there. I've been out there for the holidays. 2 years ago, the Wild were out there the week before Christmas, and it was really cool.
And stay for New Year's Eve.
Might as well. If you're out there, if you're a Gopher fan, if you got the money to spend it, then stick around for sure.
Aaron, you should go to New York for New Year's Eve.
He could do some damage down there.
Talk
about, the sheer volume of women down there.
Just close your eyes.
And it's great that he has no microphone right now and he can't defend himself.
Right. Just close your eyes and stick your lips out. Oops. Someone's going to kiss you.
Oh, boy. Be careful there. Might not have been wrong out of that one.
Mostly women,
Next thing you know, it's RuPaul, so be careful. I mean, you got to be real ginger with that close the eyes trick.
Yeah.
But no, so the Gophers might be in a bowl game. And
they're going to go.
For the seniors, fine. I'm with you. I get that part of it. But as a program in the Big Ten, I'm with you. If Tracy Claeys wants to really earn the fans' respect, just say, you know what? We don't deserve to go to a bowl. No. We're not going. I would love to see that happen. It's not going to happen. And college football in general has become a money grab because all these bowl games we get now.
How many are there? Are there 40 or 50?
40 bowl games.
Right.
So you get 80 teams that make a bowl. And really what it's come down to is Elmer Fudd on his couch the Thursday after Christmas wants something to watch, doesn't want to watch reruns of American Idol or Forensic Files. And if you put anybody on, and I mean anybody on that screen in a bowl game, there is gambling around it with the bowl pools and the FanDuel and the DraftKings. And so I get it. We're going to watch the games. If they're on, we're at the sports bar. If we're at Patrick McGovern's, if we're at Dave & Buster's, we're all going to see the game. We're going to want to watch the game. Have the Coors Light. Have the time of your life. But what it's done to me as a football fan is growing up like I did in the 70s and 80s, New Year's Day was special. It was sacred. You knew the cadence, you knew the best teams, and you knew as the day went on with 8 or 9 bowl games, at the end of the day, the payback was the granddaddy of them all mattered, of course, the Rose Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew the Sugar Bowl at the very, very end or the Orange Bowl.
And then the Orange Bowl halftime show.
The national championship and the halftime show, it mattered.
Yep.
New Year's Day now is an afterthought. The hockey game, the Winter Classic, the Bruins and the Canadians will be must-see TV, and the football will be the side dish. How is this possible?
Well, and the other problem is that it used to end at those games.
That was it.
So now you watch the Rose Bowl, and then January 6th is some 2 crazy teams playing in San Diego at the
All of a sudden you see TCU taking on Houston on January 5th. It's like, what?
Yeah, I think
what is this?
If they did it, if they at least ended with those big games, it'd be one thing.
It'd be better.
It'd be better, but I agree with you. It's too watered
Too many bowl games, too many bad teams, and shame on us. We all turn the TV on and we watch it. I'll admit.
Well, they're playing in baseball state. They play at San Francisco has like 6 different. They play in that ballpark, and I don't know.
So they're going to go.
Yeah,
we're going to break the news right now. Minnesota will be in a bowl game. So the whole facade about we need to beat Wisconsin to be bowl eligible doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, now if you just throw out a 5-7 record, you're bowl eligible. Let's be honest. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where it's almost comical, the amount of teams that play in these bowl games. And until we stop watching and stop attending,
no, you're right. And
they're going to keep playing them because they're making a ton of money on these games. That being said, New Year's Eve is pretty cool. So I guess the kickback here, fairness and conversation, New Year's Eve you get 2 national semifinals, and I love the playoff. I do. Yeah. I love it.
No, and that's it. It had to be some sort of playoff. Maybe they could have. Well, with all the bowl games, they couldn't have. But maybe you should have maybe gone to 8 teams, 6 teams.
I hope they double it at some point. It goes to 8.
I think
it's difficult
more,
to get down to 4.
Right, and now this year could be. We've talked about it a little bit. You got Iowa, Michigan State. That winner is probably going to go. I heard some weird scenario today where possibly Ohio State and Michigan State could be in the top 4.
I don't want to see that. No. I don't think the Big Ten is worthy of 2 teams.
No,
I really don't.
Not.
I'm not I think the winner of this game deserves a shot. I'm hoping. I really am. I'm hoping that it's Michigan State because I think Iowa could really, and no disrespect to the Hawks, they've had a terrific season, but I think they could embarrass the Big Ten. I mean, it could be one of those 52-0 specials, and I don't want to see that for the Big Ten.
Nope, I agree. You got North Carolina's playing Clemson. Now, if they beat Clemson, can they jump all the way from 10?
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
You beat Clemson, number 1 team in the country.
And you're 10.
You deserve it.
Now, they played some crappy teams earlier, I guess, that's going against them. But if you're 10 at this part of the season, you beat 1, you should jump into the top 4.
It's a big game this weekend. That actually is a very intriguing matchup because I think North Carolina is good enough to stay with them. I'm not sure they can actually go over the top of the hill and beat them, but they can stay with them. They've been putting some points on the board. I don't care who you're playing when you're scoring in the 40s every week at that level. You deserve a look, and I think they're going to give Clemson a little tussle. I still think in the end Clemson's the best team, and they'll find a way to win that game. But Michigan State, Iowa, if you're a Big Ten fan, it's a very cool matchup.
So think about that. Clemson is the number 1 team in the country. Why couldn't we be better? That's a whole different show, but
it's a whole different show. But it really is frustrating that Wisconsin, Iowa, Clemson. Name your team that's not Alabama or Penn State or the traditional powers. Michigan, Ohio State,
Mississippi State was up there, and
why can't we?
Why?
I was told for years it was the Metrodome. I was told for years if you put a really nice facility on the campus, like Wisconsin has, like Iowa has, you'll win.
Well, remember, too, the Twins needed to get out of the Metrodome, too. Wait a second.
Well, actually worked out better when we were there. Joe Mauer was a 340 hitter there. And he's something like 260 at the new ballpark, just saying.
That Metrodome. But, yeah, no, it's weird.
It is, and I don't know how to get over the hump for this program. I'm not sure Tracy Claeys is the guy. I'm not certain that he isn't the guy, but how do you do it? What's the chicken and the egg? What comes first? You get there or you get the recruits to bring you there? One way or the other. There's no reason Wisconsin, Iowa, Northwestern.
That guy's a good coach.
Northwestern won 10 games this year.
10-2.
You can't tell me, again, both schools in a big area, plenty to do in Minneapolis, plenty to do in Chicago. You can't tell me the academic tussle that he has, getting kids in to play football.
Stanford.
Why can't we do this? It's just, it baffles me.
Yeah, Stanford. There's another example.
Stanford, I mean, you got to be like a 3.9 to get in there.
Right.
It's like an Ivy League school. Same thing with Northwestern. And they get not only a couple of blue chippers, but they get football teams that are good enough to win double digits darn near every year.
Right.
Part of it is Fitzgerald's a great coach. I'll give you that.
He's a great coach.
But the Gophers just have never been able to get over the hump. And playing in the Pinstripe Bowl at 5-7 against Central Michigan this year probably isn't going to help recruiting. We were all told last year, New Year's Day, SEC opponent in Missouri, you just wait to see the recruits. That'll get you. I don't know. Will it happen? I don't know.
Before you move on, I've got better Gopher news for you.
You do?
And I'm going to guarantee you've never talked about this on your show.
Volleyball.
Yes.
How about that? A 1 seed.
Next weekend, you and I, we're going to Des Moines, Iowa for
my old stomping ground.
The regional finals. You and we're going to go.
I'd love to head back to Des Moines. I've been down there since I left in 1986 with
Did you have to leave?
Well, I was done playing hockey
so
with the Buccaneers. I didn't have any background in farming, even though I had an internship at Pioneer Seed.
They'll let you come back.
I hope so.
Well,
I hope Shakey's Pizza is still there. There was a Shakey's Pizza right by our rink, and that's where we played the game, and we wandered over to Shakey's Pizza after. It was spectacular.
The last Shakey's Pizza here was in Rochester, and like a moron, I used to drive down there just to eat Shakey's Pizza.
I loved Shakey's Pizza.
I know.
Can't find them with a searchlight now.
It's gone.
Why?
Well, maybe not in Des Moines. I don't know.
No, Des Moines, they keep it going, I bet. I bet they keep it going.
So go for volleyball.
How about number 1 seed?
I think they're the number 2 overall
seed. They can win a national championship, and nobody knows.
Isn't that sad?
But they do draw pretty well. I've seen some of the highlights on TV. They actually get a pretty good crowd, and they must be taken away from Don Lucia's crowds because I watched the game on Sunday. You're playing St. Cloud State. Now, I get it. It's Sunday. It's 6 o'clock. Football wins.
It never used to matter. It never used to matter.
Never used to matter. You look at that rink on Sunday for that St. Cloud, Minnesota game, half full. Half full. And I'll tell you, I guarantee I know the culprit. Big Ten.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Since college hockey left its format in the old WCHA, which was brilliant, appointment TV. Every Friday and Saturday at 7 o'clock, you knew that team was playing, and you knew they were playing somebody you were familiar with. It was a rivalry every weekend. Now, well, we're going to have a Thursday game. Well, we're going to have a Saturday game. Okay, well, there's going to be a Monday game here. Next thing you know, you're playing Penn State. You're playing Michigan. Nobody cares about Michigan State hockey here. Nobody cares about Penn State. And the Wisconsin bit, which used to be really, really good, well, they're terrible right now, so nobody cares about that. And so it's lost the luster. And for the college hockey fan out there that could identify with Minnesota, North Dakota, with St. Cloud State, Minnesota, UMD, St. Cloud State, North Dakota, Denver, all these awesome rivalries, it's dead.
And they're the fourth best team in the state?
How about that? St. Cloud comes into town and sweeps them and blew them out on Saturday. I can't figure it out right now. I'll tell you this. College hockey's got to figure this out because when your premier program, and let's be honest, Minnesota has been a premier program. The TV ratings, the rink numbers, I mean, the money that program has garnered, second to none in college hockey.
At one point, it was the only college hockey team that made money.
When you see a half-full Mariucci Arena on a Sunday, when you're playing St. Cloud State, you're not playing Merrimack, man. No. You're playing St. Cloud State, Bobby Motzko, in-state rivals. I mean, coaches that used to coach together. There's so much layer. There's so many reasons to be in that rink, and it's half full. And the Vikings played at noon. There's no excuse.
And they're beating you.
And they buried Minnesota. So I'm concerned as a college hockey fan. I don't know where this goes. I was lucky enough to work the WCHA Final Five last year for Billy Robb at the XL Center, which was big fun. I mean, I love these tournaments at the end of the year. We had pretty good crowds, but then you see the highlights of the Joe Louis Arena.
The Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, there was nobody there. 1,200 people. So there's some things they got ironed out. I don't think college hockey had any idea the ripple effect of this Big Ten network deal they made, and I understand where they thought this was going.
It wasn't necessary. Penn State
absolutely wasn't necessary.
Penn State could have joined one of the East Coast leagues.
So the jury's not out yet, but I'm telling you right now, college hockey to me is in a dangerous area.
So quickly, Arizona State, they have hockey now, right? Or is it next year?
Well, they're transitioning into varsity right now.
Right.
So next year they start their quote unquote. They jump all the way into the pool.
Independent. Yeah.
Isn't
that crazy?
Who wouldn't want to go play for Arizona State, right? I mean, seriously. Can you imagine the Fun Devils? That climate out there playing college hockey? It'd be great.
You can your flip-flops, tank top.
If they get a real coach, like let's say George Gwozdecki right now, I think is coaching high school hockey in the Denver area. He's a terrific coach. The Flying Alphabet can get it done. He was on Tampa Bay staff that went to the Cup last year as an assistant. There was some friction there at the end of the year. Didn't work out. He moved on. George Gwozdecki's sitting out there in your Arizona State knowing that every college kid in America is going to want to come play in Arizona State. If you get a real coach,
you're going to go get 23-year-olds from Canada that would love to come down there.
Yeah. Guy living up in Saskatchewan's not going to want to come play in Arizona and play for Arizona State. Give me a break. It's going to be spectacular.
I know.
So what can we expect this weekend? We talked about the Vikings. We're both calling for a close victory for Minnesota. What can we expect as far as what are you going to be doing when you look at the sports landscape this weekend? You've got some options we talked about the college championship games. We got a wild game tonight. We got a wild game Saturday against Colorado. Where is your attention going to be focused?
I have quickly morphed into just despising Colorado.
You don't like the Avalanche?
I hate them.
Cody McLeod probably at the top of your list. What a jackwagon he is.
The coach is not exactly
Patrick
too far behind. He's nuts.
He's a beauty.
So I will definitely be watching that game. I'll watch everything actually.
You'll tune into all the college football Saturday, the whole bit.
I'll tell you, I'll watch the Iowa Michigan State college football. I think when your team is so
middle,
you don't start to get really wrapped up into it until the big games. But I think everything the Wild, the Vikings. I'll watch a little college football, but I don't really care right now.
The one game I want to see is the Michigan State Iowa game because of my Big Ten ties. I'll be working both the Wild games, and I love the fact that it's back-to-back games against the same team. See, that to me when you're playing teams that you've played in the playoffs, which I think that's where rivalries really start, is playoff matches. So you get a home game on Saturday, then you get the game in Denver on Monday. The animosity builds up, the cheap shots, the yapping. Who knows what Patrick Waugh is going to do? I mean, you just don't know with that guy.
No.
So it is going to be fun to watch this weekend. I just hope the Wild tonight, and that's where we're headed tonight. This is our big pregame show at Patrick McGovern's Pub, West 7th in St. Paul. Coors Light specials, if you want to come on by and get ready for that Wild game. We're here every Wild home game Thursday. Even the non-home game days, we're here at 5 o'clock. But if it's a home game and you're in St. Paul, get over here early. We're here from 3:30 to 4:30 for the podcast each and every Thursday. Coors Light specials. And then stay tuned because we will be segueing into another venue, Dave & Buster's over in Edina at the Southdale Mall. Brand new, beautiful facility. Was over there with my nephews last weekend. Great gaming, great food, and another great spot for us. We believe next Monday, and we might segue into Wednesday shows as well, Aaron. So we love coming down to Patrick McGovern's. I think we're going to enjoy the Dave & Buster's vibe as well. But tonight, Scott, worries me.
They can't play down to their level. That's what worries me about the Wild.
You just beat Chicago. It's a huge feather in your hat, and now here comes Toronto. They get beat 6-1 last night in Winnipeg.
Everyone
they scare
thinks
nobody,
beat 'em.
And they got a guy behind the bench that might be the best coach in all of hockey, and Mike Babcock. And I guarantee you tonight he's going to slow things down. I guarantee you he's looked at the numbers, and I looked at the numbers this morning. Toronto's played 6 times this year, second of back-to-back. They're 0-4-2, and in those games they've scored a combined 10 goals. So right now Mike Babcock's sitting there saying, we probably can't get past 2, maybe 3 goals. We're going to slow this game down. We're going to play a 1-2-2 forecheck. We're going to trap the game. We're going to trap the Wild. We're going to dump the puck in, and we're going to let them cough it up. And he's going to try to slow this game down, turn it into a 1-to-1 clomp fest in the third period. And if the Wild fall into that trap and play to their level, to your point, they're in trouble then. If they get out there and play their game like they did in Chicago, it won't be close.
So the Wild have won the last 4 regular season games in Chicago.
How's that possible when they can't win a game in the playoffs against them last year?
Well, yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Then they come home against teams like this.
It's a dangerous spot, though. It's a letdown spot.
Always.
And I'm curious to hear. I'll be on the bench with Jason Pominville at 6:30 for our pregame show, and that's the first question I'm going to ask him. How do you avoid the natural, which is you just had the high of the high, right? In Chicago, ending a slump, beating the Blackhawks, who beat you last year. And here comes Toronto. You see them twice a year.
They don't care.
They're off the map. They got drilled in Winnipeg last night. How do you get up for this game? And you can say all you want. You can give me the lip service. It's another chance for 2 points.
Right.
You can't tell me that you have the same fear factor tonight against Toronto that you had 2 nights ago on national TV in Chicago. It's not there.
They need to go out and just blast them. They need to either get into a fight. Toronto might have to slap. They have to get mad at Toronto.
Yep.
Like they hate the Blackhawks, they hate Colorado, they hate the Blues. They're always up for those games. For whatever reason, they don't always win, but they play good against the better competition.
And the big picture is, and hopefully, and I think these guys are smart enough to realize this, these 2 points matter. Oh. And look every year down the stretch how much it means for not only getting in the playoffs, but playoff positioning. If you don't get 2 points tonight against Toronto, you're going to at some point look back at this and say, holy cow, this should not have happened, and now we're going to try to make those points up. These are 2 points. If you're the Wild, you have to have. To me, it's the first 10 minutes. You come out, first 10 minutes, you get a goal early, you get the crowd into the game, it'll take care of itself.
What did you make of the whole Suter-Yo thing?
You know what? I'm around the team long, often enough to understand what makes Ryan Suter tick, and he likes to be involved in everything. He's a captain for a reason, right? The guy has earned that. He's an elite player. He's one of the 3 captains, and I think, to me, all it said was there should have been a conversation
in the
front end.
He didn't want to be told.
He wanted to be part of the conversation. Here's why we're doing it. And once they had that conversation, everything was cool. And I think
and who scored the winning goal?
He did. And I think the one criticism I have for Ryan Suter is, if you feel that way, that's fair.
Yeah, that was.
Don't do it publicly. Don't get the media going. Don't get the Michael Russos all lathered up and stir up trouble because that's all they're trying to do. They're tweeting this, they're tweeting that, and then everybody's in an uproar. And don't do that.
Yeah,
just go back into the coach's office and have the conversation. If you're Ryan Suter, you can have that conversation anytime you want as one of the captains of this hockey team. Just don't air your dirty laundry out for the media scrubs to run with. Well, it was a poor decision on that side of things. But it was a test. Again, the reason that game mattered so much is there was some turmoil, there was some bad feelings, and the team went out and fired a bullet. They played arguably their best, most responsible game of the year, and that bodes well. Mike Yo's a great coach. He doesn't get the respect in this town he deserves.
No.
I see it day in and day out, and it's not just the head coach, it's the whole staff. These guys get it, man. They understand the depth of personality on this team. You got veterans like Suter and Parisi. You got kids like Granlund and Coyle. It's a real dynamic that all 5 of those guys kind of mix in their great expertise, and it works.
And they have not had everybody playing well. I'm not even saying about being hurt. They have not all played well at the same time. You know,
No.
you had Vanek was carrying, and Parisi were carrying him at the beginning of the year. Pominville, now Pominville's scoring. You still got Koivu, who I think is teetering.
He's having a great year, though.
He's having a better year. But
watch him in the face-off circle.
Yeah.
Before you crunch the numbers, and he hasn't put up a lot of goals, watch him in the face-off circle and understand how important that puck possession is. He's actually really, to me, one of the reasons that these guys are relevant when it comes to the division and playoff hockey. He's going to be a force for these guys throughout the season. He's playing, in my opinion, in the last 5 years, his best hockey.
And that's...
He's not a goal scorer. He's never going to be a 25, 30 goal score guy.
That's the disconnect, is when you're making that much money. But if all the guys, Granlund and Coyle's coming on a little bit, if these guys, Zucker's my guy, if they all start playing well,
yeah,
and it has not happened yet this year.
They're good enough to win this division. I'm not backing down. I've said it all year long. The gap between them and Dallas is very, very marginal. Tonight, it's Toronto. Saturday, it's Colorado. And if you're coming down to St. Paul, listen to us right now, please stop by Patrick McGovern's Pub, have a Coors Light, and get ready for the Wild v. the Maple Leafs. Mr. Applebaum, pleasure as always to work with you.
I'll be watching you tonight.
Should be fun.
Do you have any scoops for the season ticket holders? When you're a season ticket holder, you get a little scoop.
I just gave you one. I'm going to ask Pominville about the letdown factor in my bench interview. Nobody else knows that. Maybe Pominville's listening. He can really tee up one of his best answers. But as far as scoop goes, Mike Riley practiced again with the team today. He isn't playing yet.
Why?
Well, I think they're just trying to give him a little taste, get him up from Iowa. The Iowa Wild are really struggling right now, and give him a little chance to kind of interact with his future teammates and his future coaching staff, because this guy is a prized part of this organization. And so look for Mike Riley at some point to get a little nibble this year, but I think he's probably a year away from being more of a steady influence on this lineup.
So will he play before they? I know we got to go, but will he play before they send him down, or is he just up here to practice?
That I don't know. It depends on the health of some of these guys and how they play tonight against Toronto, because you got Marco Scandella back right now, so you got a full crew. So they just sent Folan down to get some playing time in Iowa, which he probably needed. And so we'll just see how the Prossers and some of those defensemen in that 6 or 7 spot play. Riley's good enough. I just think that he needs a little more seasoning. He'll be a fixture for this team for many, many years. Just think of Nick Leddy and how good he is now, and think this guy can be a very similar player. So we'll look for you on Monday, 2:30, Apples to Apples.
I'll look for you tonight.
Look forward to a Wild win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We thank Patrick McGoverns for their great job hosting. Thanks Coors Light. And, of course, Dave & Buster's out at Southdale Mall in Edina for your great sponsorship. We're back on Monday. This is the Sports Ticket for Kendall Mark and Scott Applebaum. I'm Kevin Gork. Thanks for joining us right here on the Alive and Social Network.